on today's show. This is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. Hi, everybody. We're back. And today we are talking, Kelly, about one of our favorite topics on K-Rockcast.
Of course.
Our very own Park Dojoon. We love him, don't we?
We do.
We do. We are deep diving today, Kelly, into his only solo song, Burn, from an OST. We get to gush about our crazy scientist today. It's taking me back to our Into the Dotunes episode, Kelly. I loved that episode.
It was so lovely just to be able to talk about how proficient he is, not just as a musician and a singer, but also as a producer. So we get to do a bit more of that today.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to dig into this really great song that is from an OST. So Kelly, you're going to kick us off. Talk us through the song credits and then tell us a little bit about this OST.
So, Burn was released by our lovely Dojoon, and it was released on April the 23rd in 2022, and it's part of the Again My Life original soundtrack, and this was on episode 3. And so the original list for the credits on this, you'd be kind of surprised about, because obviously it's a Dojoon track, but it was completely and utterly written by the Rose. Now, I don't know whether or not they basically use the Rose as a sort of stock labeling mechanism when it comes to writing things. I know I do. So ideas will come from within different stock of the actual group, but it's just credited as being a band effort. So that might be what's happened with this one. So lyrics, composition and arrangement is all by the Rose, and obviously it was performed by our Park Dojoon. And it's a great track. So it's a sort of a pop driving rock song, and it's so well created in aspects of the actual series itself, and it fits perfectly with it. So it's very much in line with the band's music at that time as well. So it's got that slight electronic synth sound with it too. The track stands out actually on the OST. So if you get a chance to have a listen to it, it's definitely worth listening to the entire thing, because there's some great music on there. And it's not a traditional drama ballad that you would get with a lot of these things, because normally you tend to get like a big sort of power ballad. This one's got a little bit of spice to it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. So the drama itself, I watched this is what I was saying to Anne earlier on before we started recording. I watched this probably about 3 years ago. So all I remember is enjoying it. I really need to watch it again. It is a really fantastic K-drama. It's kind of my thing. It's got a little bit of a sci-fi twist to it as well. So Again My Life is a fantasy legal thriller, and it stars Lee Jong-ji as the prosecutor, Kim Hae-yu, and after being murdered whilst investigating a powerful corruption case with a politician, he's given a second chance by the Grim Reaper, and he wakes up years in the past. And he is basically armed with the knowledge of all the future events. So he's racing against time to get vengeance. And he builds alliances, and he brings down the people who are responsible for all this corruption and obviously resulted in his death. The series combines political intrigue, revenge, action, and these wonderful time traveling elements. So obviously the little nerd in me loves a bit like that. The drama aired on SBS in 2022 and it runs for 16 episodes. So it's the typical K drama thing of 16 episodes. And it was adapted from a popular web novel of the same name.
Yeah, I'm glad you'd seen this. You watch so many more
I
K-dramas
watch,
than
watch a
I
lot.
do. After I read this synopsis, I was very intrigued. I feel like it's something I would enjoy. I like
I think
crime
so.
thrillers like that.
It's not, it's heavy, but it's not too heavy. It's not one of those that
Mm,
leaves you sort of thinking, oh, you want to watch more of it. Because I tend to find sometimes a lot of Korean crime dramas fall into one of two categories. They're either exceptional and you're pulled in and you need to watch it, or it's the other side of it and you're like, I've got to watch it because I want to know what happens, but I'm kind of fast forward this section. And thank God it's not one of those.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. See if it's on any of just kind of the streaming sites that have Korean content. I agree with you. After reading the synopsis and then not to skip ahead in terms of the lyric meaning, the guys really did a good job kind
Yeah,
of writing a song that perfectly fit, with the theme of the drama
yeah,
itself,
definitely.
which I love. So I've got a great clip because there isn't much available out there
No,
where they've ever talked about this song,
they
and they
don't.
as a band truly don't promote their OSTs. They kind of do these OSTs, they get asked to do them, they do them, and they've done quite a bit in their career, but they don't really promote it. They don't
Mm,
perform these kind of songs when they are on tour. And so it's rare that they'll ever talk about them. Now, there are two times when I know they have openly talked about this song. One is the clip you guys saw in the On Today show, which we're going to see a little bit more of, the only live performance we have of Burn from the world tour at the New York sound check. They did talk about the history of the song, but I didn't want to use that same clip because I thought that'd be a little boring.
mm.
They also talked about this song on a station head that Sammy did when he
I
was getting
remember this
ready to
one.
promote his Before We Die tour. So let's give that a listen.
This is your song.
Oh yeah, Bird. I can't believe that a lot of Black Roses like this song. Yeah, it's a good song, but there was just like you know, we wrote this for the drama, Korean K drama. So
Yeah,
it's a little
this was right after you guys, or no, was this during or right after you guys came out of the army?
right after my discharge.
Yeah, I remember I was in
So
America when we were writing this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you were in America, and then so right after discharge, we there was nice,
Yeah.
but we
I
got
think
requested and we wrote it for the drama.
we wrote it online basically.
Yeah, we wrote this and then we gave the files back and forth, and then that was during like COVID and all that. So
All right. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. You kind of mentioned that they probably put the Rose's name on it, but maybe not all four members contributed. So I get a sense from how they described it there that it would have been when Dojoon immediately returned home from his
Mm,
service. Sam was over in the United States, but the rest of the band members that were still actively serving, Hajun and Taegyum, I wonder if they really contributed. They might not have, but maybe it was more Sammy and Dojoon
yeah,
contributing to the writing, but putting the Roses kind of
yeah.
name
I mean,
on it.
you
Kind of how I
basically,
interpret that.
yeah, you basically do that because it's to bolster your own. It's terrible to say, but it's kind of to
Sure.
bolster the band finances. It's easier to do it that way, and it basically just all comes in as one, and then you split it equally amongst the four of you, because then whoever does the work, it kind of balances out along the way. It's a nicer
Yeah.
way to work than sort of having one person that writes everything and they literally get all of the credit for it. So they basically
Right.
get anything that comes out of the proceeds as well.
I think it's interesting that they chose to showcase Dojoon's vocals only on this song. And I
Yeah.
think the timing of that was interesting because, you know, this came out in between the time when he comes out of his post-military, and really what he and Sam were starting to do was Sammy was wrapping up his Moth showcase. He was wrapping
Yeah.
up all his promotions of that solo album, and they were ramping up all of the comeback activities as Hajun came back from the military the summer of 22. Taegyum came back from the military around that same time. They were all kind of gearing up and getting ready to come back with the heel era. So kind of an interesting bridge
Yeah.
Dojoon decided to do, planting kind of this seed of him showcasing his vocal
Yeah,
talents on his own without
definitely.
Sammy's vocals accompanying him. I
And
loved
you know,
that.
I do. And I think it works better for it. I think if this was a
Mhm.
collaborative song, or even if it had Sammy's voice on it, I don't think it'd work as well. I think it works well because you've got that really beautiful warmth that you get out of Dojuni's voice.
Mhm.
And that's what pushes through. You get that wall of sound with it, and that is fantastic. I love that about this track.
I know. I think of something that Jason Mader said to us when we kind of made some similar observations in the song Alive, that that song presented
Mm,
more of Dojoon's vocals than Woo-sung's vocals. And I remember Jason said, you know what? When you're a musician, you do what's best for the song.
you do.
Your decisions are based on what's best for the song. And I think they probably made those same decisions. So Kelly, jump us into the melody analysis with Burn.
Right. So where do I start with this one? Let's do the basics. So it's 120. It's 127 beats per minute. It's G sharp major, and the guitar chords for this are E minor, C, G, and D. And more than likely, it would have been played with a capo on the fourth fret. This isn't a traditional band orchestration. This is kind of a weird fusion of a rock, pop, and orchestral song, and it's been so cleverly done. They have got the brief, and they have written for the brief so well on this track. And whoever did the mass majority of the writing generally has an idea of how music is written for film. And you get this really beautiful mix of the usual Rose elements in there, because you can hear the Rose in it. You know, it kind of
Mhm.
relates to a Rose track, but it has this lovely orchestration that also cements it very much in being something for a visual, whether it's film, TV, or a video. Writing for those type of things ever so slightly different, because you're kind of writing more. The music's got to convey emotion more than the lyrics have to convey emotion. So
Mm.
when you're doing an original soundtrack, normally what they will ask you for is you'll have the full item, and the full item will include everything. So it would be the finished product as heard, but you will also send an orchestral one without vocals. It may have choral
Mhm.
on there. So if you've got like oohs and ahs and things like that, they might be in there. But generally speaking, it's without a voice. And you will hear that underneath certain scenes. And if I remember
Mhm.
correctly, I do believe it is actually in the series without the vocals as well. Now, this orchestration is so subtly done, and it doesn't distract at all from the pop sensibilities of the song, because it is, at the end of the day, this is a pop song. And I think
Yeah.
if you're not really paying attention to what it is, it's just kind of like turn it up. It's like summer music. but it's actually a lot darker
Yeah.
than that. So
I know the lyrics aren't they?
no,
Like
but
the meaning behind
the
it.
music underneath it is the music's quite dark as well. And the main thing with this is like dynamics is the name of the game. So there's so many silence cuts. So in the production you'll hear it, and then literally the music completely drops away, or it's filtered to next to nothing. And this
Mm.
is literally just before we get in, this is like pre-chorus area. This is just before we get to the chorus. So when he hits you with "I'll let it burn fire," and it hits you so
Oh,
hard,
it does.
and it's
Yeah.
just so clever. That is really
I
clever
love
from
that
Jukebox.
element.
It's clever. It's
Yeah.
clever writing, because I think you've got to have a mind that you know that that's going to happen. But the production to do that
Mm.
is beautiful. So the
I
drive.
mean, let's just stop for a minute and recognize him. You said it at the top of the episode. I think the more and more I've honestly done this podcast, it's been what, a year and a half now. And some of the individuals, the professionals, geniuses behind the scenes that
Yeah,
have worked with the Rose that we have had the honor and pleasure to interview, it just has solidified to me his talent
oh
in
yeah,
production. I mean,
oh
he
yeah.
brings so much to the band in terms of that talent. And he has from the beginning. I mean, that was something I think they highlighted in the documentary film. And the more we
Yeah.
dig into their music, you just see that come through so much.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, he's fantastic, and as I've said, he's one of those guys I'd really love to sit and pick his brain, to be honest, because there's a lot going on in that mind. All the drive of this track, it all stems from this really heavily compressed synth bass. Now, in its, let's put it out there now. There's a really lovely string squeak at the beginning of this, and we all know I love a string sound. I like it to
Mhm.
sound like there's some form of natural playing in there, whether it's fretboard sound or whatever else. But I find it really hilarious because I think the mass majority of this was probably done in Logic. I think nearly all of this is digital sounds, so it's very
Yeah, I think so
definitely,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very very definitely a digital bass on there, because yeah, it's a digital bass, and then it's underpinned with digital drums as well. So the whole of it will literally be a program kick drum, and a snare and everything else. And obviously, there's a heavy use of pads in there too, so you get that
Mhm.
warmth as well. But when you're using digital sound, you have to layer a lot, and then you have to use a lot of plugins as well, basically to
Mhm.
create this bigger sound that you would naturally get with like the warmth of a true instrument. But
Mhm.
hate to say it, that's creating digital music. The orchestral strings on this are perfectly overlaid in the chorus. It's like a very high staccato clip, and it follows the arc of the actual story really well. So
Mhm.
it reminds me very much of Bernard Herrmann, who used to write a lot of the soundtracks for Alfred Hitchcock. So he did the Psycho soundtrack. So you know what I mean? You've got that, so and he
Mhm.
was just genius in what he did and how he wrote. And if you listen to the actual strings, you can almost hear the ticking of a clock as it's racing against time, and it's so clever. It just ties the plot together, and this is where it becomes more like an OST sort of orchestration, instead of just being here's a pop song that's stuck on top, or here's a ballad that's stuck on top. This
Yeah.
is proper OST territory, and it's quite impressive. The verses are very simplistic. They literally use the bass rhythm and a clean guitar, and I mean it's just kind of plucked the guitar. It's kind of there. It's sort of mid in the mix. It doesn't even sit forward. It's just there as a filling thing. But this creates this absolute wall of sound when the chorus kicks in, and
I
it
love
hits
that.
you.
It really
It
hits you.
just hits you. And this is all because they've layered Dojoon's vocals, and they're just so thick and unctuous. They're just great. So I think there's probably 6 takes in there that they've used to layer. So I mean, you always refer to it as, it's like a double track. I mean, that's a lie. You just keep building and building and building and building and replicating the tracks. But I think because your ears kind of frizz out after a while and you can't quite count it, but there's a number in there that have been blended and like audio aligned to create this big monolithic sound. And then you just get this pan with the vocals. So if you sit and listen to this with your headphones on, which folks, listen to it with your headphones on, or if you've got a really decent stereo in the car, listen, just pull up on the driveway, turn the engine off, let it play, because of it coming out of 4 or 5 different speakers in a decent setup in your car, you will soon tell how well produced this is. And then you get this really beautiful anthemic hit with the woes at the end, and God knows how many tracks are on that. It's duplicated out of all forms, but it's so well done. And again, it's just testament to our absolute crazy mad genius of a scientist and his ability to produce music very, very well without it being in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I love something that you referenced a little bit earlier when you were kind of talking about the OST and starting to get into some of the sound. You said it sounded very kind of reflective of that electronic sound that was common in the Roses music at the time. And I agree. Like when I was reflecting back on this song for this episode, I was brought back to our episode where we talked about Red and how that was really the first time they started to dive into synths and more of that electronic sound, particularly if you take the vocals off of Red and you listen to the instrumental of Red, you listen then to this song. I felt like there was so much similarity there.
They are sisters. They're very definitely sisters.
Yeah. I think, and I hadn't really picked up on that before until kind of thinking of this song more like in depth.
Yeah.
I just love that start of, that synth beat and then his vocals kind of come on top.
Yeah. So he'll literally just be hitting a pad to get that beat. And I think because they're similar as well, I think it's probably done on a Korg synth as well, because it's a very specific sound that sounds like it's coming out of something like a Korg.
Yeah. And like you said, all of the layers that kind of get added on in the melody and then it builds into that chorus. And there's just such a nice push throughout the chorus. And we've already kind of mentioned just about his vocals and how great his vocals sound. I like this part right before, I think it's kind of right after the second chorus where that melody just completely drops.
Yeah.
And then you get this build into kind of that final push and the third chorus. And, it's just this fun, this kind of upbeat song that, like you said, I like that as an OST theme, it is different. It's not kind of that traditional dramatic ballad that you tend to get with a lot of OSTs. So I like that they just kind of did this more upbeat, but the lyrics themselves definitely align to the theme of the drama. So let's listen to a clip from the New York sound check where it is the only live performance we have of Burn.
Well, I really don't know.
There were a few things I have to talk about that I just love during that. One is our man Hajuni. Remember, I was like, okay, get him, Hajuni. Like, somebody remembered the lyrics. Like, he was like carrying that song till Dojoon like picked up on the chorus, which was
I hate to say he frequently does.
I know, it's so funny. Because I remember, I think I put out a reel and I was like, I think like me and Hajun are the only people streaming this song, apparently. Like, because he totally remembered.
I stream it frequently.
This other part was hysterical. Because you can kind of see it a little bit in that clip, but I've got a different clip, I think, out on our IG of Woo-sung, because he's sitting there in between the two of them and he's just kind of like listening and he's like looking, and then he gets super into the song. And at the very end, he's like, damn, like that was a good song. He's like, I think I've literally never listened to this song since we wrote the song.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is actually a good song. I'm like, dude, you need to be streaming this. Like, yeah, be like Hajun. Stream Burn. It's so funny.
I think that's the problem, though. I mean, when it comes to stuff like their OSTs and that, they just it's a horrible way to describe it, but they are just throwaway. They do it, it comes out, and then it's out the way. They don't deal with it anymore. And it's like, oh, come on, actually, some of these are your best tracks.
I know. It's so true. I mean, it's kind of like what Dojoon said in that clip on Station Head, where he was like, Black Roses really love this song. I'm like, yes, dude, like we do, because it's good.
It is. It's a really good track. Yeah.
All right, now let's dig in. We've talked about how really the lyrics match the theme of the OST. So why don't you kick us off? What's kind of your perspective on the meaning of the song?
Well, I think first off, I think it's perfectly written in line with the synopsis of the actual series. Because when you're doing an OST, there's two ways it can happen. Either they will find your song and go, it will fit with this moment, and basically that's syncing, so they'll sync it to the actual track. Or if you write the original soundtrack, so you'll be given a synopsis of the scene or the overall arching storyline, and then you write to that. And obviously this is what they'd got for this one, and it's brilliant. It fits so perfectly well. So even though it's a really upbeat pop affair, is the way I sort of describe it, it's got this really nice dark side to it, which is probably why I love this one so much. So, I mean, bearing in mind, I mean, like the entire series is based around death by execution, grim reapers, and a second chance at revenge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about roses and things like that here, are we? We are talking like a definite, deeper, darker area. And the hilarious thing about this is, I mean, I automatically go back to World and the fact of like, you can't write it that dark. So that was part of me that kind of thinks, who wrote the vocals? Who actually wrote the lyrics for this? I mean, is our Dojoon capable of writing darkness like this? Is this the dark side that we've always been hammering for?
I don't think so.
No.
I think this is Sam.
I think you're right. I think this is Sam sort of doing his little emo bit, to be perfectly honest, but that's a different story. Yes. And there's so many things in this, though, that are really nice, like subtle nods to past K-dramas as well, in some of the language that's used. And like older, like really weird, like sort of like we're talking like early 1990s, like crime dramas and things like that. I mean, you can definitely, there's a slight feeling of things like, I mean, I really love Korean cinema and I mean, like Old Boy, there is a hint of Old Boy in this and things like that. So when I say it's dark, this is dark. So, I mean, one of the best lines, or the like two lines in this for me, is like, even if I fall, I get up again and I will never stop. And it just underpins literally the entire synopsis of the series. It's like, that could have just been the tagline for the poster. Literally, I will never stop, could have literally been it. Because it both points to the refusal to be defeated. And then also you've got this time loop thing as well. So it's like, it just ties in so perfectly. And then, of course, we get to the chorus wall of sound and that big-ass chant bit that comes in, and I'll let it burn fire. And that's literally the desire to sort of incinerate his adversaries.
Mhm.
And even if he does unravel his own existence by doing it, obviously time loop. So I'm not going to give too much away about the series, but there is consequences if he doesn't do it right. And I think he's so well done, and the delivery. I think that's one of the things we've not really spoken about when it comes to the lyrics. So I mean, you can analyze the lyrics. I don't necessarily think these lyrics are coming from a personal place.
Right.
It is doing the job that it's been asked to do. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. But the delivery of these lines is perfect. Even though it's done in a, Mr. Sunshine way that Mr. Sunshine does with jazz hands and everything, it's delivered perfectly well. And that is all the more testament to him. It really is.
Yeah. I one of my favorite lines is swimming through time.
Yeah.
I love that. I just like that imagery because it makes me feel like one, you've talked and kind of researched in my synopsis, right, of him getting, it's like that time travel. He gets to
Yeah,
kind of go
exactly.
back
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
time and start over again. So there's that aspect. But also I just think of like swimming through time feels to me when you're swimming, you have the resistance of the water and you're always pushing against that resistance of that
Yeah.
water. And so I really liked the imagery created with that. I think I agree. To me, it's about resurrection. And I love this concept of burn because when I think of that, I think of fire and I think of the phoenix, right?
Yeah.
The rebirth coming as something new.
Mm.
And when you're coming out of the flames, you come away as something new. um and I think a lot of the lyrics are, like you said, about um persevering. And he says, I'll follow you to the ends of hell, suffocating inside the smoke. I want to rise higher
They're not
under the
words.
blackened sky. I'll let it burn.
It's not
I
words,
like
is it?
that
The
too.
expect out of Mr. Sunshine at all.
Well, that's the thing. And again, like
That's the
until
beautiful
you, I
juxtaposition
feel
of
like
it.
for me, yeah, until I actually sat down, this was again the first time I actually had translated this
Yeah.
song. I hadn't translated it before. So, I'm over here, like you're saying,
No,
like
yeah.
I'm just like happy pop, let it burn. Yay. I don't know really what he's talking about, but hey, must be happy. It's
No,
Dojoon.
it's
And I'm
not.
like, who wrote this?
Hold on a
Like,
minute.
gotta be Sam.
We're getting a
Gotta
bit
be
dark
Sam.
here.
Dojoon's like, I'm gonna take your emo lyrics, Sam, and I'm gonna put a happy beat on it.
It's so mad. It really
Get
is.
some synths.
Yeah, just stick some
It's
synth
like
on
if
there. We'll be fine.
red was like, it's like red. It's like the red is you said it, they're like sister songs. Maybe it's like the sibling that's on what would you say?
Possibly.
Like they're like
Possibly.
revolting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. There's lines in here like suffocating inside the smoke, and I mean, it's like I can't really see that in many Rose songs. I think the closest we kind of get to this is probably Strangers, but
Mm.
obviously that's not written.
Another OST though.
Another OST that is supposedly not written by them, but I'm 100% sure it actually has them down on some of the credits for it,
Mm.
which is it's always. But I mean, there are hints of language that we've heard before, sort of like under blackened sky. There are slight sort of hints of things that you can go, oh, actually, I can. That is kind of the Rose language as such. But yeah, it's interesting, and I just kind of love the fact that it's Dojoon doing it. It wouldn't have the same impact if it was Wootham singing this at
No,
all.
oh my gosh. I agree. It totally
Just
wouldn't have
wouldn't.
the same impact. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's kind of perfect that he's delivering these lines. And as you said, he just does a phenomenal job.
Mm.
Well, I love this song. It is regularly in my rotation of the Rose music. Dojoon, if you're ever listening to this, buddy, maybe you should dust it off. Bring this out. You're gonna be free soon. You're gonna have all the time in the world. Maybe we're hoping you will focus on your own solo career. I think if you go on tour as a solo artist, hopefully we will get another live performance of Burn, possibly in the future.
It would be very nice to hear it. I must admit, I would quite like to hear this one live.
Yeah. Black Roses, if you're going on the Rosetopia tour, ask for this in soundcheck. Yeah. Maybe he'll play it again. You never know.
Not. maybe not.
Or maybe that was just like a one-time fluke.
That might be it.
We caught him on a really good day.
Or maybe his uni will have to go, for God's sake, look, this is how it goes. Why does nobody else in this band know our sodding songs? Am I the only one?
Him and Taegyum's over there strumming. He did a great job with the chords.
Great. I mean, they're always fantastic, those two. But I mean, literally, I swear they are the two that glue the damn band together half the time.
It's so true, Kelly. What would the Rose do without Hajuni and Taegyum? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's not go
Sam
there.
and Leo are just too much together. They're just too much. All right, let's move into our humor segment. So, I've got a fun one this time. I don't think this is too evil.
Oh.
So, Kelly, imagine.
Okay.
I kind of thought of this as the theme of like burn, right? We are burning down technology.
Okay.
You have to survive. Yeah, I think you would be down with that, right? You're not too reliant on technology. You have to pick one member of the Rose that you're going to survive a week without any technology. This means no cell phones, no electronics, no internet, no Netflix, nothing. Who are you picking to spend your week with, and what are you going to do with them to spend your time?
Why have I already got a feeling that yours is going to go into sus territory when we start? You tell me who yours is.
I promise.
Lies.
We will keep it clean.
Lies. I know you too well, woman. Right. All right. So I'm going to have to do clarifying questions on this. So no internet, no smartphone, no iPad, no Netflix, etc. You did say no electronics. Are we saying no like electricity full stop? Are we caveman in it here?
Okay, you can have electricity, but no like you can't use anything on a computer.
Every now and again,
things like that.
It's good. It is good to unlock. Right. Okay. So you've got to deal with them for a week. And I mean, literally, are we saying cheek by jowl for this for a week? Is there any way?
Yeah, you're hanging out with them.
Is there any way that you can escape them? I mean, literally. I mean, is it literally you're in the same space?
You're hanging out in the same space throughout the day. You go, maybe you have nighttime where you each go sleep apart, and then you come back the next day and you're hanging out. So you're spending a lot of quality time with.
Because my third question was, have I been given a shovel so I can bury one of them? Because I think
you can't survive a week with one of them.
I'm going to say after about 4 days, I might be digging a trench somewhere to put somebody in. Oh, okay. Do you know what? I really don't know.
Oh, none of them annoy you the least that you could see yourself spending a week with any of them?
Well, I could guarantee you there would be a very small trench dug immediately if it was Sam I was dealing with. I couldn't cope with that. Can you imagine him he'd be hallucinating Pokemon. He'd literally it'd be like after about 2.5 hours, it's like, I need technology. No.
Yeah, it's funny because he's not a social media technology person, but he obviously loves his video games. So yeah, exactly. He wouldn't be able to do his video games.
No. There would be a Wusung-shaped hole somewhere. No.
Taegyum's gonna struggle because he can't watch YouTube.
Well, that's true. However, there is the possibility with Tay, you could basically just class it as a fitness week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
spend all day in the gym.
Just spend all day in the gym and being tortured that
Running.
way. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
running at the Han
going for
River.
walks. Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. That's okay.
Dojoon's gonna struggle because he can't use his technology tools to create music.
Yeah, but if it's because that was one of my next questions. I mean, could you take an instrument with you? So I mean, you could take an acoustic guitar and things like that.
Yeah.
So actually, he wouldn't be that annoying.
You
Fair
can play
enough.
music with him all week.
Yeah, exactly, and you could talk music. And then again, the same again with Hajuni. Or the question is, would it just be Hajuni, or could you take Bella? In fact, actually, can I
you
take
can be with
Bella?
Bella.
Can I just have a week with Bella?
Week with Bella.
Can I have a week with Bella?
I think Dojoon would actually survive the best to me because I'm thinking of all his habits. I feel like he kind of likes being unplugged.
Yeah, probably. So, I kind of agree with that actually.
Yeah, I think he'd spend, like you said, spend his time walking, hanging out in doggy cafes and the park with Bella.
Yeah,
he'd be happy.
Exactly. No. I still don't really. I mean, I can think of other people that I'd much rather have the experience with, but I mean, to be perfect,
who's that?
I'm not saying. But there are. Yeah, I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I'd probably say Tay. I think because I think we've got kind of similar senses of humor as well. So
you said that. Remember that episode we were, God, where did that come up? It was in a Would You Rather. We were talking about his sense of humor and how he is a little bit like, he'll kind of a slow, what were we talking about? Like, shit. It was gags or jokes that you would play on someone. Remember? Yeah. And you said that you and Tay would probably be similar in that you'd have this like long game gag that you would want to play on somebody. It's got a little bit of an evil side.
No, I think probably he'd probably be the one that I could talk about music and you know and other things about. But I think also he's a very emotionally aware person as well. So I think you could actually have a genuine, humane conversation with him as well. So yeah, I'm going to go Tay.
You can spend. He would play music too.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's very musical. It seems like he would enjoy playing.
Yeah. And and then it'd be sort of come on, Kelly, you've got to do some exercise. So yeah, there you go.
There you go.
He's probably the best one, I think. Yeah,
he's a good pick. Yeah, he's a good pick. I'm gonna go with Sammy, even though you're bury him in the backyard.
No,
after the first hour. I'm going with him because I feel like out of all the members, so to me, if we're unplugged, it means it's got to be somebody I can really talk to. Like somebody I feel like I could just sit and talk for hours on all different kinds of topics. And for me, he's that person that I feel like we have so much not in common and in common. Like there's some things and topics I think we have very similar thought processes on that we could just yap. And then I think there's other things that I am always fascinated that his mind works very different than my mind works. And I find it interesting, the differences we have. And so again, I feel like I could just talk for hours with him on these topics because we don't look at it the same way. And I think we would have a really interesting conversation. So yeah, he's, and I think we would have fun. Like, I feel like he's someone, he likes to eat. I like to eat. So we can spend time cooking and eating. I think we could like do other things that aren't like driving. He likes to drive. We can go around to go for a drive. So I think there's all different things that we could get into that aren't like technology related. So I'm going to go Sam.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know who you would pick if you could spend a week You got to survive a week with one member of the Rose without technology. Tell us who it would be and how would you spend your time. Keep it clean, Black Roses. Keep it clean. All right, tell us what you think of Burn. Please rate this podcast. Give us your feedback. We always love to hear that. Send us emails if you would like to. You can email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the episode. Follow us on social media across all of our social media handles. We are at KROK_cast all across the board. That's Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube.
Click here to subscribe.
Check out our website, krockcast.com. We've got merchandise now for KRockcast. We also have the English translation of the lyrics. And so we will be putting out English translations for the lyrics of Burn. So if you haven't really dug into the English translations of this song, please check out our website and all of our English lyrics. All right, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, we're Rolling Quartz. You're watching and listening to K-Rockcast. Check out their podcast and K-Rock recommends for our music and other great independent artists. Thank you!